I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary.
Listen up, sweetheart. It's 2025 and we're sitting on a $9.2 trillion debt powder keg. Trump's lighting the fuse with tariffs, slapping reciprocal payback on the freeloaders who've been ripping us off for years. This is a hard-boiled play. Markets jitter, dough pours into U.S. bonds, and we're saving a bundle, see? Steel and autos, red-blooded American muscle, cranked back to life while the deficit takes a slug to the gut. China's shaking in its boots, allies are scrambling to deal, and Uncle Sam's calling the shots again. Prices might climb, sure, but tax cuts will keep your wallet from crying.
And now we're going to pass the largest tax cuts in American history, and that's where we're relying on Mike and John Thune.
By 26, jobs roll in and the naysayers choke on their own smoke. President Trump is dealing from the top of the deck, rough, tough, and winning. It's a gritty game, kid, and the best is yet to come.
This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back.
Hang tough, pal. It'll be worth it.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. Shout out to everybody catching this on the live. What is up? What is up? If you're catching this on the live, come on in, come on in. If you're catching this on the replay, simply just type in replay in the comment section down below. I also place timestamps at the bottom of this video so you can jump forward and back forward, whatever you want to do. Those timestamps will be placed at the bottom in the description down below. And again, if you're catching this on the replay, type in replay in the comment section. I want to give a huge shout out before we begin, and how we begin every single show. Got to give a huge shout out to the moderators in the chat. What is up, moderators in the chat? What is up, moderators? Let's go, let's go. I have to change that clap because it starts off very slow. It's like an escalation clap. And then shout out to everybody catching this on the live. Shout out to everybody catching this on the live. I'm going to get a quick roll call in. Hopefully everybody's doing great today. What is up? What is up? What's going on, my mind? Patrick Kennedy in the house. Patrick Kennedy in the house. Steph, what is going on? Terry, what is up? Joe in the house. My sound is off. Oh, no. Hold on. Give me a sec.
Boom. Is that better? We good? We're good? Sound is good? Awesome. Let's start that again. What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Welcome. Today is April 8th, 2025. Shout out to everybody watching this on the live. If you're catching this on the replay, type in replay in the comment section. I will edit that out. I will edit that out for anybody that's catching this on the replay. My mind, I got you. Thank you so much. This is why the moderators in the chat are the best. Moderator hit me up. My mind hit me up. He said, yo, your sound is not working. Your sound is not working. Thanks for hanging in there. You know, this is the fruits of working live, I guess, right? Got to get my stuff together. Anyways, Patrick Kennedy off the jump. Members for 5 months off the jump. Shout out to Patrick Kennedy. This is why I love you guys. This is why this is the best chat on YouTube, just to be completely frank with you guys. LJ writes, damn, it's 6 o'clock already. What is going on, Terry? What is up? What is up? My mind. Are we good with the sound? Check, check. We're good with the sound. Give me a thumbs up if you're good with the sound. No sound. Check, check. Okay, cool. My mind said there's no sound. Patrick Kennedy said there's sound. Terry says there's sound. Let me know. Anyways. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Awesome. Great, great, great. All right. Hopefully everybody's doing amazing today. I will make sure that I got my together, you know? Sometimes there's so many things going on. I got lights, I got microphones, I got cameras, I got crazy stuff going on. I'm glad that the sound's good. I'm glad that the sound is good. All right, all right. Let's stop the delay here. And let's jump into this opening situation here. Markets panic, mom sues, and fluoride gets a boot. Today, the American economy rode a roller coaster, and the baby food aisle got slapped with a hazmat label, and Trump told the IRS that you are fired. On Friday, folks, Wall Street was swirling around, just the same thing like fluoride was swirling around in our water. President Trump dropped 10% import tariff, and it was like a mic drop on WrestleMania. And Wall Street, well, they collectively lost their soy lattes. The Dow did a somersault, and NASDAQ curled up in the fetal position, and the media screamed recession like it was a fire drill at CNN headquarters. But Japan blinked just a few days after. Tariffs rolled out. Tokyo set up a trade signal flare. And boom, the markets rebounded 1,300 points. This is classic Trump, guys. The art of the deal. He said, scare them, shake them down, and then make a deal over sushi. Meanwhile, our pantries are facing scrutiny. Gerber's facing a lawsuit, not because their jars are too small, but because allegedly they pack lead, arsenic, and mercury. It's not baby food. I think it's a Breaking Bad formula for Walter White there. Now parents are suing and the courts are saying it's going to trial. Next time you see an all-natural label, maybe it's time to ask what type of minerals they actually mean that are in the baby food. And then there's the Panama Canal drama that happened today. China's been sniffing around like a CCP real estate agent, hoping to cozy up with one of the most strategic waterways on the planet. But Trump said no. He sent Pete Hegseth down there. He flew down to Panama and told Beijing to take a hike. The moral of the story is if you don't build it, you don't get to run it. Back home, RFK has officially declared war on fluoride. There's a couple states that eliminated fluoride in the water. You guys remember fluoride, right? The magic chemical that everybody told us that it's going to save our teeth. Well, it turns out it might actually be lowering IQs. There's been a lot of studies that have been coming out connecting the dots between fluoride exposure and the developmental pathways in humans. RFK is saying no mas. He did a presser today. We're going to jump into that. And we move on to economists now. Economists are cheering on IRS, sobbing into their calculators. Donald Trump announced that he's killing capital gains tax, which is absolutely huge. It's in the Trump bill, the one big bill. So no more capital gains tax when you sell your house, when you sell your stocks, when you sell Bitcoin. And this is what it is about. Trump's rolling out the Roomba on the IRS. Let's jump in. All right, we got Donald Trump. We got Donald Trump. You know, I'm almost a little tired of this tariff situation, but it is what's going on. You know, Wall Street's freaking out. Trump shrugs and Japan says, let's talk. It was pretty immediate. And then he slapped a tariff on China and he said, no more American films in China. He said, no more. Or China said they're not going to do any American films in China. I'm like, dude, what American films are coming out that are going to be released in China? Toy Story 5, G.I. Joe 6, I don't even know. Wall Street just rode an emotional roller coaster like a teenage girl who found out their TikTok was shadow banned. And Trump's just over here shaking it down. He's over here playing golf.
Countries that are coming to negotiate deals with us, and they're going to be fair deals, and in certain cases they're going to be paying substantial tariffs. There'll be fair deals. Nobody but me would do this. You know, it would be nice to serve a nice, easy term, but we have an opportunity to change the fabric of our country. We have an opportunity to reset the table on trade.
President Trump holding his ground on tariffs. It comes, as the White House says, the phones are ringing off the hook with dozens of countries calling to negotiate new trade deals. Joining us now is former Trump economic advisor Steve Moore, co-founder of Unleash Prosperity. You probably heard the report about Gavin Newsom trying to cut side deals here.
Gavin Newsom's over here trying to catch side deals like a side chick.
But he might be wise to stick with Trump because the New York Times has got a list of 20 countries. And out of those 20 countries, only 3 are considering retaliation. 17 are trying to cut deals, Steve.
Yeah, John, great to be with you. And by the way, I think I told you on your show on Friday or yesterday that, we were going to see a turnaround as soon as we start to see some of these countries make the phone call to Trump and make deals with him. And Donald Trump is the great deal maker. I mean, my gosh, he wrote the book on the art of the deal. I'm smiling today because what are we up right now? 1,200 or something on the Dow.
16 by the end of the day, by the way.
This is a good day for investors. You know, it's the old idea. You don't want to buy stocks low and sell high. And so this is good stuff. We don't know exactly, John, what countries have made that call. You said there was something in the New York Times about this, but I haven't seen that list. But I know one country that is not cooperating, and that is China. And they are just emphasizing the fact that they're an enemy of the United States. And maybe we get free trade deals with everybody except China, and then we isolate them.
Yeah, well, in fact, China said in a quote, the Chinese Commerce Ministry said, China will fight until the end if the U.S. side is bent on going down the wrong path. But you know what the president said in recent days? He said the first countries that come and make a deal, they're going to do really well. The last country to come and make a deal, they're not going to do very well. And it looks at this point as though that last country is going to be China.
You know, I mean, this is so amazing how, I mean, I just get amazed by Trump and what a great negotiator he is. So he's basically putting pressure on these countries, whether it's Germany, France, or Spain, or Italy, or Canada, or Mexico. You better make that call. You want to be first because it's almost like a game of musical chairs, right?
So he put out these tariffs, and me personally, I think it's a negotiation tactic, right? He put up these astronomical tariffs, and the countries that responded, they say, hey, you know what? We're not going to do these retaliatory and tariffs. So here's the setup. Trump rolls out a big, beautiful American first tariff plan, right? He rolled out a 10% blanket slap on imports, and Wall Street, they panicked like it's 1929, and Starbucks stopped serving oat milk. For 3 days straight, the market did a financial version of a face plant. The Dow tanks, NASDAQ bleeds, CNBC, CNN, analysts cry over their spreadsheets, claiming that it's recession time. And then, boom, Monday hits, a glimmer of hope. Japan hints that maybe, just maybe, they're open to cutting a deal. Everybody except for China. Suddenly, the Dow bounces back 1,300 points, a single session. The media calls it a recovery, but I think this is an absolute perfect negotiation setup for Donald Trump. The art of the deal, strong arm somebody to make them surrender.
You don't want to be the one left standing. And that's why I think you're seeing these flurries of calls. Now, look, the devil is in the details. We don't know exactly what's being negotiated. We don't know what they're offering. But hopefully it is that they are going to lower their tariffs on America. And John, I've said many times on your show, I'm a free trade guy. I'm not a big fan of tariffs. But if Donald Trump can pull this off and get these countries to reduce their tariffs, it's good for everybody. The world economy will be better. And my gosh, if this keeps up, as I said in the Wall Street Journal today, he might win a Nobel Peace Prize if he's able to pull this off.
Is there a Nobel Prize in trade? I don't know, but maybe he might be.
What's going on, Ricardo?
You and Art Laffer proposed something in the Wall Street Journal that you thought might work, and this may be the direction that the president is heading in, and that is you wrote a win-win exit strategy for Trump on tariffs. Offer nations truly reciprocal free trade, zero barriers, zero subsidies. Those appear to be the offers on the table from several countries, including Vietnam, Israel. We had Benjamin Netanyahu talking about leveling the playing field. Japan, Korea might be in the same boat.
Yeah, and by the way, this is not out of context with what Donald Trump has said in the past. In a famous meeting in 2018 in Ottawa, the G7 meeting of the major leaders of major countries in the world, Trump, they were kind of bitching at Trump for talking about terrorists. And he said, look, if you guys will go to zero, we'll go to zero. And all of a sudden they ran for the exits because there's a lot of hypocrisy going on among these other European countries who say, how dare you pick a fight on trade when they have much higher tariffs than we do. I think it would be a great solution for Trump, and I think he would take it. Any country that wants to go to zero, we go to zero. That's the ultimate in free and fair trade, and I think Trump may just be able to pull that off.
What do you guys think in the chat? What do you think if you're catching this on the replay? Drop it down in the comment section. Do you think Donald Trump roll it out, pull it off? Trump rolled out these tough tariffs and the markets freak out, foreign countries blink, and the next thing you know, the U.S. seemingly gets better terms, more leverage, almost with the side of wasabi with their trade agreement. Meanwhile, the financial press is still stuck in panic mode. They're still claiming recession is imminent. This could crash the economy. We are doomed. Yeah, we're all doomed if we continue to outsource the entire industry base to Beijing. This is economic detox 101. We've been so hooked on cheap labor and globalism for 30 years that it's time for rehab. It's time for rehab, and it's time to sweat it out like you're in rehab. Like after a 3-day bender with Hunter Biden, rehab type stuff going on. The market doesn't care about the American worker. What it cares about is their profit margins. And China says, or Trump put on a 105% tariff on China. China said, hey, we're not, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to do American films in China anymore. Based on the chat right now, the American film industry is dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. There hasn't been a good movie out of the American film industry for a long time. But now Japan is playing ball, Europe is sweating, China's pacing the room, and Donald Trump is still out here playing golf.
Because, the president's bottom line is that all of these nations have been taking advantage of America's benevolence for too long and ended up, for lack of a better word, screwing us on so many different things. Steve, great to see you. We'll see which way the president goes on all of this.
I'm going to jump into a clip here. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. How many of you guys love Caroline Leavitt? She did a presser today, and somebody asked her about tariffs, and moments after he slapped, 104% tariff on China effective today. Leavitt said that Trump is putting the world on notice, and this is like putting the world on detention.
answered this yesterday. He said he's not considering an extension or a delay. I spoke to him before this briefing. That was not his mindset. He expects that these tariffs are going to go into effect. And you said something very important, Elena, in your question. You said the president has captivated the attention of the world. Absolutely, he has. And it's about time we have a president in the Oval Office who is putting the world on notice and is putting the American people first. And again, is using the leverage of the United States to negotiate good trade deals. The president was asked to answer.
I agree with that 100%. I'm going to jump into some of these comments here real quick. Bethany says, I love this. 70 countries want to play more fairly. That's half the world, folks. This is what Cindy writes. 70 countries want to play more fairly. You know, it just shows on how unfair the U.S. and other foreign trade have been off balance for so long. Canada has, Jojo writes, has Canada agreed to lower tariffs yet? They have huge tariffs on everything made in the U.S. I hope Trump holds firm with Mexico and Canada. I believe both Mexico and Canada agreed. Catherine writes, it's not even terrifying them 50-50. They still have more on us. Yep. What did I miss? Economists wrong again. Yep, absolutely.
And another one.
No, thanks. I'll go on a bender solo, Catherine writes. There's one more clip here of Caroline Levitt. I got to change this banner here. Caroline Levitt exposes that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer loved tariffs in the past, but now all of a sudden, because it's Donald Trump, they don't like it.
Nancy Pelosi spoke on the House floor. She urged her colleagues at the time to fight against the status quo trade policies that had contributed to America's trade deficit with China. In fact, Nancy Pelosi said, how far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit? How many jobs have to be lost for the American workers? How much dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? Those are the words of Nancy Pelosi in 1996. Well, President Trump is finally answering her call 27 years later. Nancy Pelosi can thank President Trump today for the 104% retaliatory tariff that will be going into effect on China. In 2007, Chuck Schumer spoke of our nation's crippling trade deficit, saying these are the kinds of records the American people don't want us to be breaking. The administration needs to move beyond words, take action now to reverse a trend that threatens our prospects for future economic growth. And Chuck Schumer said that in 2007. Finally, in 2025.
She rocks. She's great. She's absolutely fantastic.
Nancy Pelosi.
She is absolutely fantastic. White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt confirms that 104% tariffs on China took effect at 12 p.m. EST today after China failed to lift 34% retaliatory tariffs by the deadline. The tariff collection will begin tomorrow, April 9th, according to Fox Business. This is huge.
Removed by tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We're putting a 50% tariff on above the tariffs that we put on. So they've gone for years. They've become a rich country because of people, again, that were in the White House that allowed this to happen. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year they'd make on us on trade, and it shouldn't be that way. That tariff isn't removed.
Shout out to Steph and her mom, by the way. And thank you, My Mind. Thank you, My Mind, again for letting me know that the sound was off earlier. Shout out to My Mind. This is why I cannot be more grateful for the moderators and everybody in the chat. Thank you, Serena. I appreciate that. She said, looking fresh today. It's crazy seeing old videos of old bags. She's gotten a lot of plastic surgery since then. I want to roll a poll down in the comments section and also in the chat. How many operations do you think Nancy Pelosi has had on her face? Not to say that a woman cannot or a person cannot get plastic surgery, but golly, she has gotten a lot. She has gotten a lot. She wants to maintain that young youth look. Either that or she's getting that baby's blood. I say at least 8 to 10. 8 to 10 across the board in this region for Nancy Pelosi. $10 at least. Patrick Kennedy writes, Trump is the only politician in my lifetime that made big promises and fulfilled them. So far, so good, right? There's some things that I'm like, we could work on, but specifically with the tariffs and making the economy better, 100%. There's little things that people are complaining about across the board, things that are almost irrelevant that don't necessarily help the economy, at least in my personal opinion. Like I would like to see the E-list. I would like to see the E-list. I would like to see the full JFK situation, the full JFK file. There are a few things, but those things don't necessarily stimulate the economy. It's almost like being a valet worker at a casino. You almost cost the company money more than you actually bring in the revenue. This is just my personal opinion. I can't agree with everything that he does, but for the most part, Donald Trump has been, and the administration has been fulfilling everything. Specifically things pertaining to the safety and the economic stature of the United States. Tariffs being one of them, resetting the economy, if you would, making sure that the borders are closed, making sure that no bad hombres come in. These are all good, important things. E-list can wait. JFK can wait. I love Caroline Levitt. Nobody could do a better job than that lady. Not even cringe Jean-Pierre? Serena says, plus Botox every 6 months on Nancy Pelosi's face. Pelosi is old and looks old no matter how many surgeries. I agree with that. She is she's looking rough. She's looking rough. Shout out to Patrick Kennedy for the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. They have a special face surgery for lizard people.
Got him!
Oh, man. Here's what President Donald Trump had to say about our good friend, Jasmine Ghetto Crockett. He speaks at the National Republican Congressional Committee dinner. This is a 20-second clip on what he had to say about our friend, Jasmine Ghetto Crockett.
I said before, the Democrats have taken a lot of beatings. They have lost their confidence. They've gone crazy. How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her? Is that real? Are they serious about that? That's their new star? If that's their new star, they're in serious trouble. I mean, this is Crockett. Oh man. But we've done looking back. And, I said before.
I'm glad you're home safe, Steph. Had my son relaying the messages. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you're home safe. She said very seriously that they were lizard people. I saw Crockett speaking in a church saying some stuff about not picking cotton and trying to get rid of illegals. It's crazy because a couple weeks ago, she was talking about who's going to pick our berries and who's going to clean our house. Come on, Jasmine Crockett. Who's going to pick our cotton? I did briefly see a clip of that. Who's going to pick our cotton? What? I think machines do that now, right? Mostly machines. Yeah, 100% racism. Why would somebody say that? Who's going to pick our cotton? Who's going to pick our cotton? Who's going to clean our houses? Who's going to pick our berries? What? Yeah, machines definitely do that now. This is 2025. What do you mean? Who's going to, unless you're in like South America or something, you get hand-picked cotton, but I don't know. Like there's no such thing as work visas. Exactly, Terry. And in the church, people saying amen. What? Who's going to pick? Amen. Amen, sister. Was it an all-black church? Oh, boy. Be sure to smash the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. I'm going to jump into this next topic here. Now, get this. Arsenic, lead, and mercury are found in Gerber jars. Toxic baby food. Toxic baby food. Gerber has some explaining to do for sure. Let's jump into this.
Food and Drug Administration has put guidelines in place to curb the amount of lead in baby food. However, many are saying this does not go far enough. This comes after more than 500 children became sick last year from eating cinnamon-flavored applesauce contaminated with lead. Illinois Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Congressman.
How many of you guys in the chat were aware of this? I know this has been a story that has been percolating for like a few years now, but now they're bringing this to the forefront. Turns out the only thing that's organic in baby food might have been arsenic. And some companies are lecturing about the health and safety. Just got dragged into federal court about this.
Morning, Natalie. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. You and I have been talking about this issue for the last couple of years. You have been pushing very hard for toxic metal limits for baby food. Do these new guidelines do the job?
No, I'm very disappointed. I'm glad that the FDA acted after our investigation a few years ago revealed high levels of arsenic, cadmium, mercury, and lead in baby food. They started something called the Closer to Zero program. But unfortunately, it's been closer to zero activity and way too much delay in publishing standards for how baby food should be produced. And this current guidance is just that. It's guidance. It's not enforceable standards. It doesn't cover all foods, including the ones that parents use the most, such as teething biscuits and cereal with their children. And then last, again, it doesn't say anything about arsenic, cadmium, or mercury, which I'm very, very concerned about as well.
Federal judge just ruled that Gerber, Walmart, Beech-Nut, and a few other baby food giants will officially face lawsuits in this particular scenario. They've been selling these products with allegedly tainted heavy metals, like this gentleman mentioned. Arsenic, lead, mercury. This is it's crazy.
Why didn't the FDA go further? Because they have the research, they have the information that shows how harmful this is for children. Why do you think they took this softer stance?
I've been asking the same question. I'm unfortunately led to believe that I think industry in part might have captured the regulatory process. They're very, very powerful here in Washington, D.C., both in Congress and in some of these regulatory agencies. And I'm worried that these baby food companies and these big food conglomerates are preventing action on basically protecting some of our most vulnerable citizens, namely our children and babies.
And Congressman, I know that you're not a doctor and you're not like a health food advisor, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. If the FDA isn't doing the job, what can we do to protect our children from toxic?
You make your own baby food. That's what you do. You make your own baby food. These companies, of course, are saying that these heavy metals occur naturally in soil. Right. Absolutely. Like radiation occurs naturally from the sun, but it doesn't mean that we want it in our oatmeal.
infants and children.
It's one of the reasons why we've taken lead out of gas, removed it from paint, cleared it from water pipes, and eliminated it from almost every product you can think of, except from perhaps the most obvious: baby food, where lead and other dangerous heavy metals like mercury and arsenic have tainted top brands for years, in an industry Congress and others have accused of acting with impunity.
4 years. Parents are now suing because they believe these tainted baby foods may have caused neurological damage in children, including, like LJ writes in the chat, including autism spectrum disorder, ADHD. These foods that we feed our babies may have been slowly poisoning their brain, just like the fluoride in the water, what we'll mention later today in this video. This isn't some tinfoil hat Reddit theory. This is a lawsuit that was built up in 2021. Congressional report exposes dangerously high levels of toxic metals in name brand baby food. But instead of cleaning house, these companies kept the jars sealed and they didn't tell anybody because they just wanted to continue to roll profits. Let me know what you guys think about this in the chat. What do you think about these companies making baby food for newborns? Do you think they actually care, or do you think they actually care about profits? They're too busy slapping smiling babies on these lead-filled, mercury-filled baby jars.
Reflects a moral failure, an ethical failure on the part of the industries.
Dr. Philip Landrigan is an epidemiologist, pediatrician, and one of the world's leading advocates for children's health.
It's not acceptable in a society such as ours to allow children to be exposed to these levels of lead in baby food.
Yet,
this is why we took lead out of paint and all this other stuff. I'm going to jump into the comments here. Our politicians have sold us out for decades. Every American should be enraged. Never fed my son prepared baby food. Kudos to you, Airdrie. My kids are grown now. Most food, quote unquote food, are food-like products, but don't mess with the babies. We covered a story about, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, about this same situation in baby formula. This is, it's gross. Then they want to give them Adderall, which is even worse. Exactly. So these things in the baby food have been shown to give ADHD, autism spectrum disorder. And then they say, oh, well, your kid has ADHD, so let me give him Adderall. Let me give him Adderall. And then he'll be on that prescription for the rest of his life. Oh, now he's too hyper. Now let's give him lithium. Let's give him lithium to cool him down. LJ writes, this is all intentional. People in Congress and Senate really need to stop eating that baby food. This is why they are making choices that are so utterly dumb. This is what Cindy writes.
Got him!
Ain't that the truth? It's infuriating. 10,000 chemicals banned from other countries. They absolutely don't care. Our country is crap. We make food-like products, not food. That's why we're sick, and healthcare industry loves it. They want you to stay sick. The World Economic Forum wants to reduce the population by 50%. Ted Turner in a video saying it. Shout out to LJ for that. LJ comes through with the facts. Terry Clatterwood writes, I try to eat whole foods, plant-based for years. It's delicious. Absolutely. The less chemicals, the less crap that's in food, the better that you're going to feel. Just my personal opinion. reduce the sugars, reduce the gluten, all this other stuff, all these other chemicals. We don't need any of that stuff. Biden ate a lot of. We saw that happen here. Yeah, they were probably feeding Biden baby food. Sweet pea cinnamon puree from Gerber. That's why his brain's fried. FYI, meat and dairy have zero fiber. Whole Foods is a scam. That 365 brand is imported from China, Melissa writes. I agree. I'm not a fan of Whole Foods. I am not a fan of Whole Foods. I go there every now and then if I'm in the area. They have sometimes I'll go. This is very, very rarely, though. Sometimes I'll go and they have like a hot plate section. I'll grab a hot plate lunch or something. But that's really it. I think their prices are way too high. I think I can get better. I know I can get better product at a local grocery store. And I prefer Sprouts, to be honest with you. I prefer Sprouts. I'm not a fan of Whole Foods. And Smith's. Sprouts, Smith's. That's about it for me. Fauci and Gates say population control. Yep. 365 from China. That's terrible news. Whole Food is owned by Bezos. They should tell you everything you need to know. He's just another corporate. Yep. He's just another corporate guy. 100%. We have farmers markets all over the area. I've never been to Aldi. They're actually opening up in Aldi. I think they're opening up 2 locations out here in Las Vegas. So I like Sprouts. I like Smith's. And then I like the Hispanic markets. Because I can get that carne asada, I can get that marinated carne asada, put that on the barbecue. Oh, and Trader's. Yeah, Trader Joe's is cool too. I like Trader Joe's. They have a small selection of produce, but I like Trader Joe's. Yeah, I heard that they're running Amazon like Grocery Express now. It's crazy. I can buy so much on a $150 budget at Aldi. Okay, I'm excited because they're putting an Aldi right down the street, not too far from me. Okay, Bethany writes, Aldi, a lot of great German stuff. Kudos to that. There's a couple German bakeries and a couple German grocery stores, small local stuff around here, which I love. I also like to, get it or take something to my grandma. But man, when those smaller grocery stores work off such small margins that the prices are kind of high on these like small boutique grocery stores. So I'm excited to check out Aldi. Next up, we got Pete Hegseth. U.S. secures Panama and tells China to keep out. Canal. America, they just sent a loud and clear message down south. They said, nice try, China. The canal isn't for sale. And it's definitely not for sabotage. Let's jump into what Pete Hegseth had to say. I haven't watched this yet.
U.S.-based military units are involved in joint exercises, planning, and other forms of cooperation with our Panamanian partners on both the Atlantic and Pacific sides of the canal. And together, we will take bold first steps to revive our defense and security ties between our countries. Right now, a U.S. Coast Guard cutter will transit the canal coming up this week to conduct counter-narcotic operations in the Eastern Pacific. U.S. Coast Guard cutter Kimball is moored in Panama City to conduct a subject matter expert exchange with personnel from the National Aeronaval Service of Panama, or SANAN. The USS Chosen, where I'll be tomorrow, is a guided missile cruiser, is also docked in Panama City for a port visit as part of CENTSEC 25, the ongoing conference. And USS Normandy, another guided missile cruiser, is patrolling off Panama's Caribbean coast. While there, they are training an embarked team of officers and NCOs from SANAN, Panamanians, again, our partners. Several aircraft from the U.S. Marine Corps and Navy are visiting Panama to enhance our air and maritime security cooperation. We have stood up the Joint Security Cooperation Group, Panama, here in Panama City to coordinate U.S. military activities with our Panamanian partners. We will also continue to deepen cooperation in the long run. This includes increased training, exercises, and information sharing between U.S. and Panama security forces. And in 2026, Panama will host the multilateral Panamax exercise. This training will focus on ensuring the free flow of commerce through the Panama Canal. And finally, this pier, Pier 3, tangibly represents America and Panama's shared commitment to the canal's security. Thanks to over $5 million in support from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we have refurbished this pier behind us. These needed infrastructure improvements revitalize this historic facility and strengthen maritime security both in the canal and into the Pacific Ocean. Our relationship with Panama, especially our security relationship, will continue to grow in the months and years ahead. Our relationship is growing in part to meet Communist China's rising challenge. China-based companies continue to control critical infrastructure in the canal area. That gives China the potential to conduct surveillance activities across Panama. This makes Panama and the United States less secure, less prosperous, and less sovereign. And as President Donald Trump has pointed out, that situation is not acceptable. We are grateful to President Molino, Minister Abrego, and your teams, along with the Panama Canal Authority, for responding to these threats and safeguarding the canal. President Molino's decision to withdraw from the Belt and Road Initiative reflects his government's clear understanding of China and the threat it poses.
The mission here, to keep China the hell away from the Panama Canal. Now, if you ever glanced at a map or, I don't know, watched a Tom Clancy movie, you'd know that the Panama Canal is kind of a big deal here. We're talking about 5% of global trade going on, 100 years of U.S. strategic interests, and the kind of shipping shortcuts that breaks global supply chains. And China is sniffing around like a hungry dog at a backyard barbecue. And Pete Hegseth did a surprise visit here.
I want to be very clear. China did not build this canal. China does not operate this canal. And China will not weaponize this canal. Together with Panama in the lead, we will keep the canal secure and available for all nations through the deterrent power of the strongest, most effective, and most lethal fighting force in the world. We will do this in partnership with Panama. Together, we will take back the Panama Canal from China's influence. And we will do this along with other capable, like-minded allies and partners. This is what peace through strength looks like. You see, the first time a sitting American president set foot outside of the United States, the first time, was to see the construction of the Panama Canal. President Teddy Roosevelt spent 3 days here in November of 1906. He was here both to inspect the project and to emphasize how important it was to our security and our prosperity. After his visit, Roosevelt described the canal as one of the great and giant feats of the ages. Nearly 120 years later, this canal remains a wonder of the world. And like President Roosevelt, President Trump today recognizes the canal's rightful place as the center of our shared hemisphere. It connects 2 continents and 2 oceans, transporting over $250 billion in goods per year and 40% of U.S. shipping. 70% of the ships that pass through this canal are going to or from U.S. ports. It saves nearly 8,000 miles for shipping traveling between our coasts.
It's crazy.
Our almost 100 U.S. military vessels each year transit the canal. This miraculous canal shows what our 2 nations can achieve together.
Rumors have been flying around for years that Beijing has been trying to buy influence and cozy up with port authorities and maybe, just maybe, leverage the canal during future conflicts. Think about it, the weaponization logistics here. Hold the world hostage, 1 cargo ship at a time. And Pete Hegseth's dropping the hammer here.
We worked together to build this canal. Workers from both our countries gave their lives during its construction. We are proud of our shared history and excited for our shared future.
What Pete Hegseth is saying here is saying that America still has a backbone on the world stage. We're not just going to sit around and watch China buy up influence. He's saying that America is reasserting ourselves in places that actually matter, not just waving flags and securing supply lines. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below or in the chat. Let me know what you think about it in the chat. We can't let CCP cozy up with the shipping lines. This is like geostrategy 101 here. Just think how close China was to controlling the canal because Obama and Biden. Facts. The canal and Greenland are so crucial. 100%. China, get out of my canal unless you pay for using it. Okay, I'm getting snarky, so you should leave now. Biden probably encouraged China to take over the canal. I bet he did. I bet. I love the fact that Pete Hegseth made this surprise visit to the Panama Canal. Terry writes, two favorite books, Rainbow Six and Cardinal and the Kremlin. Okay. Steph writes, tell him Captain America, a.k.a. Pete. Let's go. Yes, we have a huge shipping yard that needs to begin hiring more and build ice-breaking ships for it. Should have started yesterday. This is great. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. Drop it in the chat. Next up, we got something that maybe is a little controversial, I guess, with the fluoride in the water. Fluoride freakout. And the reason why I say controversial is because some people, not you guys in the chat, but for decades they told us that fluoride in the water was good for our teeth. Now scientists are saying that it's going to possibly fry your brain and your pineal gland, our kids' brains, and all this other stuff. I'm glad that RFK is finally doing something. he mentions this. He mentioned this on his previous campaign, and then he's mentioning it now, speaking with this CDC to completely eliminate fluoride from the water. It's the stuff that they're putting in water to clean it, basically.
Fluoride in the U.S. water supply. You would seek to ban fluoride in the U.S. water supply?
Well, I would advise the water districts that are currently using it that there's a lot of new science out there. And in fact, there's a federal judge decision by an Obama-appointed judge on October 4th of this year in which he's to send EPA back to the drawing board and said, you've never done the safety studies on this. And by the way,
and so what does that look like without debating, without knowing, without going back and forth on the science?
By the way, it's lowering IQ in our children.
What would you, upon January 2025, we're 3 months away here, what would you actually do?
I think fluoride is on its way out.
And how do you make that happen? This is your chance. That's what you're suggesting to me. How would you make that happen?
Listen to what I'm saying, okay? And then I'll tell you.
Okay.
I think fluoride is on the way out because of that court decision. I think the faster that it goes out, the better. I'm not going to compel anybody to take it out, but I'm going to advise the water districts about their legal liability, their legal obligation to their service zones and to their constituents. And I'm going to give them good information about the science. And I think that fluoride will disappear.
So I see a lot of you guys in the chat, there's no need for fluoride in the water. They're saying that allegedly it helps with tooth decay, but it's doing a little bit more than whitening teeth. Some studies are coming out showing that it's lowering IQs, increasing anxiety in toddlers, and possibly messing with fetal brain development.
You've also talked about
as the leader in making America healthy again. We have a public health crisis now in our country like nothing that we've ever seen before. When my uncle was president, I was a 10-year-old boy, 3% of Americans had chronic disease. Today, 60%. We spent zero on chronic disease when I was a boy, and today we spend 1.3 trillion. Diabetes was virtually unknown in children, juvenile diabetes. When I was a little kid, the average pediatrician would see a single case in his lifetime over a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids, more than that, 38% of our kids, of our teens, are now pre-diabetic or diabetic. And 74% of Americans are obese or overweight. About the same number, 74% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. We're seeing a crisis in mental health that is linked in some way to our foods. We're seeing crises in fertility. A teenager today, an American teenager, has less testosterone than a 68-year-old man.
That's wild to me. Here's the kicker. Over 170 communities have already removed fluoride from their water since 2010. But now Utah just became one of the first states to ban it statewide. Apparently, RFK isn't the only one questioning what's swirling around in our tap water. Scientists did a new study in 2024 on the JAMA Network Open, not exactly like Alex Jones Weekly. They say that higher prenatal fluoride exposure, was linked to kids throwing tantrums, having anxiety, and showing autism-like symptoms. The fluoride in the water that we've been fed this entire time, studies have also shown that IQ tests have come out significantly lower, because they did a group study for every 1 milligram per liter of fluoride. 1.6, I think it's like 1 or 2 points, IQ points were dropped down.
We're seeing sperm counts drop to 50% of historical rates. Girls in our country are reaching puberty 6 years early, 10 to 13 years old. We're seeing an explosion of cancers, including, we talked just recently about colorectal cancers, which were never occurred in young people. And now we're seeing kids in their teens with colorectal cancer, and it's exploding. Oh, if we want to be a moral nation, if we want to maintain our moral authority around the world, our chief obligation is to our children, and we're letting them down. And I'm very, very happy that Utah is taking the lead in so many ways. And one of the first states in the country to restrict cell phone use in schools. They've now cleaned the chemical additives out of the school lunch program. They've applied for a SNAP waiver to get rid of sodas on SNAP, which I know Brooke Rollins is about to sign, and they've led the nation in banning fluoride. Fluoride should not be in our water. Fluoride had a strong justification in the 1940s when it was added, and people didn't understand the science, and they thought its benefit to our teeth was systemic. And by drinking it, it would enter your body and somehow protect your teeth. Now we know that there is no systemic advantage, zero systemic advantage, and that the only advantage comes from topical application. So it's the water that passes through your mouth. You can achieve that benefit from brushing your teeth. And in the era of fluoridated toothpastes and mouthwashes, it makes no sense to have fluoride in our water. The evidence against fluoride is overwhelming. In animals, in animal models, and in human models, we know.
Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. LJ writes, water does not need fluoride. God made H2O exactly the way it's supposed to be. This is not rocket science. I know when I went up to Switzerland, I had the opportunity to go up to Switzerland, and there was this stream of water that was coming down from the Swiss Alps. And in this river this waterway where the Alp water runoff was coming down, there are these spigots where you just like open it and you can fill up your canteen, and you're drinking actual Swiss Alps water. It was phenomenal. You're absolutely right, LJ. Drinking fluoride does absolutely nothing for our teeth. It hardens your arteries and your third eye. Amen. And just like RFK Jr. said, it only works as a topical. Fluoride is a toxin. Symptoms due to toxicity, including respiratory arrest, cardiac depression, vomiting, diarrhea, salivation. In humans, lethal dosage have been reported. My mind writes, it feels like Connecticut is doubling up on fluoride in the water. Could you imagine that? They just want to keep those people dumb. Rob writes, as a former water plant superintendent, I know our groundwater has actually naturally occurring fluoride in it that is almost as much as our state limit. Wow. Now, even children getting fatty liver disease. Some states mandate baby food, and yeah, absolutely. And drag queen story hour. Yeah, I don't particularly think that this is necessary. I eliminated fluoride, toothpaste and stuff like that back in 2014, something like that. But yeah, so I'm glad that something's being done here. I thought originally RFK was going to get rid of the CDC, but hey, you know what? All good. Terry writes, it's like George Carlin said, don't drink the water. George Carlin was ahead of his time, wasn't he? They are blocking off all fresh water spots. Should be criminal. They definitely want to keep us dumbed down because they think we are easier to control. Facts. Facts. All right. Donald Trump. He says capital gains tax is on the chopping block. Then we'll get into what capital gains tax is here in a minute for those of you that aren't familiar with it, but let's jump into this.
Going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. You know, the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Is that?
Boom, there we go. So tax foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Trump said what every entrepreneur, investor, and home flipper in America has been dying to hear here. Not in this particular clip, but a recent article had come out that he said no more capital gains tax. And the IRS has been like America's favorite piggy bank here. In 2025, if Trump gets his way with this one big beautiful bill, America will officially kiss capital gains tax goodbye. Here is, I'm going to break it down real quick. If you're not familiar with what capital gains tax is, capital gains tax is a profit that you make when you sell like an asset, a house, a stock, crypto, even like a vintage vehicle. For more than what you paid for it. Normally, once you sell something, the IRS shows up and they say, hey, nice profit, we're going to take a cut of that. You pay anywhere from 15 to 25, 30% on those gains if you held the asset for more than a year. But if you flip a house or flip taxes or not taxes, stocks, or crypto or anything like that, if you do something short term, you'll be taxed like an income, anywhere from like 30%, 37% up to 40%, just depends on place to place. This is what's been rolling out in the past. Trump said, you know, in 2025, he's looking to eliminate the capital gains tax. So for example, if you flip a house short term, you're going to have to pay capital gains tax because you weren't living in that and that wasn't your personal residence for more than 2 years. Generally, you keep the home for 2 years, you flip it, or you sell it, and you can avoid capital gains tax. I think Trump's main goal here is to flood the economy, the U.S. economy specifically, with capital and become like a huge investment firm. And this is why we're seeing a lot of these entities invest into America almost like at this kind of downturn, if you would, because they know when it comes back up, they know how they're going to be rocking. And this like the capital gain stuff doesn't just affect like billionaires or millionaires or anything like that. It affects people like me, like you. You know, imagine if you're like in the stock trade or in the house trade or anything like that. To eliminate these capital gains taxes is absolutely great, because we know what they do with our taxpayer money, right? We know what they do with our taxpayer money. They're spending $100,000 on monkeys with cocaine addictions and things like that. This also affects like small business owners, retirees, middle-class investors, things like that. Capital gains is can be taxed on things like 401k withdrawals, early withdrawals, real estate transactions, selling stocks, all this. I think this is a phenomenal move with Trump here. And here is what to expect with some of the Trump tax cuts in 2025 when they get approved.
Taxes, because potential tariffs and an expiring tax law coming up this year. President-elect Trump and his administration will be facing several challenges as we head into 25. Join us right now with the implications of extending the tax cuts and Jobs Act. Manhattan Institute's Allison Schrager and Yale Law School and Yale School of Management professor Natasha Sarin. Good morning to both of you. What do you think the chances are we don't get a tax extension in this calendar year, Allison?
I'd say low. I think it's looking good that they're going to extend them all. I mean, I think even if Harris won, they would have extended them for most people. I don't see either party wanting to put taxes higher, particularly on middle-class people. So I think the thing we know about Trump is I think we can expect higher, it to become permanent for pretty much all earners.
So you think that becomes permanent, Natasha? You think it becomes permanent? And by the way, what's the chances it actually goes lower?
So I think there's the thing I can tell you with full certainty maybe is that the tax code is definitely going to change next year, right? You have $5 trillion of expiring tax cuts that are sort of have to be extended. If they're not extended, they're going to disappear. And as Allison mentioned, that means tax increases across the board, though those benefits of those tax cuts are way concentrated towards the top of the distribution. The question that I have, and the question you're kind of starting to get to, Andrew, is what is going to happen on the pay for side? So let's say you want to across the board extend the Trump tax cuts. That's about $5 trillion. If you want to make good on all these other Trump campaign promises, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits, that's another $5 trillion of tax cuts. So $10 trillion of deficit finance tax cuts is going to be hugely problematic for the American economy and result in higher borrowing rates. It's going to increase mortgage rates, increase credit card borrowing rates in ways that I think are going to be disruptive. So I suspect they're going to have to find ways to pay for this.
Well, that's my question. So Allison, sort of game theory this out with us. How do you ultimately do it and make it, at least from an optics perspective, look like it's neutral somehow?
Well, I mean, it's hard to know. I think, based on his economic picks, one thing they might do is bring in the border tax adjustment. That would be more on the corporate side, which when they moved to destination-based taxes was what they were supposed to do to make it somewhat deficit neutral. So we can expect that. I think they're also hoping, this might be wishful thinking, that DOGE will find ways to promote growth or maybe cut spending. I think.
See, this is where I disagree with CNBC. The reason why I pulled this clip is because I want to give both sides of this, right? They're saying, they're the wishful thinking that DOGE is going to find wasteful spending, but they already have found wasteful spending and ways to cut the deficit. We're talking about a potential $5,000 finders not necessarily stimulus, but a check to households because of the wasteful spending that they've already found. They're not taking into account the tariffs that are being in play here, the tariffs of foreign nations. Because remember, back in the day, we didn't run off of, taxing everybody. We taxed foreign entities in order to get money back into the United States. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section. Drop it down in the chat. Shout out to Patrick Kennedy for the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Thank you. Where's my claps? Here it is. He says, the point is to get the working poor to get some little hope, and the working poor is in the gutter of the United States. LJ writes, Trump is creating ton of middle-class jobs by bringing manufacturing back. I bet none of these analysts ever have to think ISA is a 5 or 10 super chat work for your finances. Yeah, it's interesting. I think, with bringing these tariffs back, bringing back manufacturing, I do think it's going to bring back a lot of quote unquote like middle class jobs or upper middle class jobs. Because right now, there's over the past 4 years, there was this huge deficit from working middle class to middle class, and then upper middle class, and everybody else above that. Keith writes, what's going on, Keith? Trump is the best president of my lifetime, in my opinion. I agree with that. I agree. I haven't seen one better. Promises made, promises kept here. Let me jump into the chat, make sure that I didn't miss anybody. We need a businessman as president. We've needed a businessman we need a businessman as president for a long time. And this is how the country should be ran, at least in my opinion. And I've talked about this a lot. The United States is a corporation, and we want to run it effectively like a business. We've been running at deficits for so long, just printing money, giving stimmies, doing all these things to artificially stimulate the economy. And if we look at, a lot of the stuff is coming out from the Biden administration. The Biden administration in the past, they were artificially pumping job numbers. You guys remember that? They were saying X amount of million jobs have flooded back into the market. But what they failed to analyze or report on, specifically on platforms like CNBC or CNN, oh, these job numbers are great from Biden. But what they failed to mention is that a lot of those jobs were part-time jobs. A lot of those jobs were jobs that people lost during the pandemic. A lot of those jobs were government jobs. So does that really affect the middle class folk? No, it didn't. And then we saw that, those numbers were fake. All those numbers were fake. And during that entire time, they were just printing money. You could like, okay, your check looked the same, but then inflation was at like 15%. Nobody can live like that. And if Harris would have got in, this would have been the same situation, rolling over and over again. This is a deep, hard reset on the United States as a business. Cutting all the fat, cutting all the government waste, cutting all the fraud. It blew my mind the other day when Elon was on the panel with the Doge folks, and they said that the United States is running off of one single bank account where all money goes in and all money goes out. That is bananas to me, because to me, that is so easy to manipulate and fudge numbers and redirect money to places that it doesn't even need to go in those places. This is just my personal opinion, like they didn't even have separate allocated accounts for Social Security, for Medicaid, for the IRS. They just had one big bank account. It's wild. The Wharton School of Economics in PA, the best in the country. That's what LJ writes. Terry, and it only turned out to be less than 1 million jobs recovered. They inflated the job numbers drastically. It's wild. Yep, Biden only created government jobs, not a businessman. Trump is an economist. He's running this place like a business. You know, when you think back, people were hussing and humming at him when he bought Mar-a-Lago. They were like, oh, how's this guy going to make money? He's paying way more for this thing. He makes money hand over fist at Mar-a-Lago now. Same thing with Elon Musk. Bought Twitter for what? What was it? 44 billion or something, 44 million or something like that. Something crazy. He's never going to turn a profit. It's overvalued. He went in and he slashed everybody, dropped it down to like 18, 20% staff, and it runs way more effectively. Biden only gave people their jobs back. Trump is creating new jobs. 100%. Joe writes, I lived under Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, George W., Obama, Trump, Biden, and Trump. Trump is seriously the greatest ever. Amen. Amen. Yeah, Musk paid $44 billion for Twitter. $44 billion. They said this guy's never going to turn a profit. It's overvalued. And then now he integrated AI. His AI company purchased Twitter. They got their ad revenue back. Because remember, when he bought it, they cut all the ad revenue. I don't know what it's valued at right now, but maybe somebody in the chat can tell me. But I know it's equal to or greater than what he purchased it for. I couldn't agree with you more about Joe. I've also lived under the same presidents, and Trump is truly the greatest president ever. Thank you, LJ. I appreciate you with the facts. I really do. As of March 19th, 2025, Elon Musk's X, formerly Twitter, was reportedly valued at $44 billion, the same price he paid to acquire the company. See? Bidenomics. Catherine writes, Bidenomics, it was the same government jobs as private sector jobs we pay taxes for. Yep. All right, guys, I am going to jump on out of here. I want to give a huge shout out to the super chats. I want to give a huge shout out to Patrick Kennedy for member for 5 months. Shout out to Patrick Kennedy for the super chats. Thank you so much for the super chats. I really, really appreciate you. I don't know why I'm doing a fist. Fight. But shout out to the super chat. Thank you so much. And then I want to give a huge shout out to the moderators in the chat. Shout out to the mods, some of the best mods in the business. And I want to give a shout out to everybody that's attending the live. Really appreciate you guys, because without you guys, the show wouldn't be as robust. You guys are the best co-hosts, and this is the best chat on YouTube, hands down. And if you want to connect with these folks outside of the chat, there is going to be a link in the description down below for the Discord group. You can chat with them. Patrick often hosts movie night on the Discord link. We're going to be hosting WrestleMania on the Discord link. You can share memes. You can connect with some other folks. I'm going to get with my mind to figure out the giveaway. So anyways, and then shout out to Rob with the new job. Don't hate the player, hate the game with the rhymes. Let's go. Bethany, I really like your show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. And I will be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. PST. Until then, guys, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you guys so much.